It's no secret I've never been a fan of mixing drop bars and dirt. From the very first time I took a drop bar bike down a steep, rutted road, I just knew it wasn't for me. I gave it a few tries over the years, but always found myself uncomfortable and lacking confidence when things got technical. So last summer, when I picked up a Salsa Cutthroat, a drop bar mountain bike, it wasn't long before I had some alternative handlebars swapped on. This spring, I've had a few things come in for review that have inspired me, or maybe forced is a better word, to give drop bars another shot. First, Ren sent me the drop bar version of their Perseverance bars to test out, which I threw onto my Cutthroat. Then, Corvus sent me the Crow Pass, a titanium all-terrain bike that came set up with drop bars. And most recently, Redshift sent their kitchen sink handlebars, which, despite my bias, are something I've been curious about since they were first released. To my surprise, I've actually been enjoying my time on drop bars, and that even includes when I venture off into mountain bike territory. In this video, I'm going to talk about 4 reasons why things have been different this time around, and how maybe, just maybe, I've been wrong about drops on dirt. Let's get into it. Drop bars for dirt roads and trails aren't a new thing. As I mentioned in my review of Steve Potts handlebars, his original dirt drop bar for mountain bikes was produced all the way back in the 80s. Then there's the whole world of cyclocross, where drop bars and skinny tires are required. Despite courses so technical, you often have to get off and run up or over obstacles. This was the most popular application of drop bars outside of road cycling for quite a while. Due to the tight and techy nature of the courses, cyclocross bikes have aggressive geometry, steep head angles, and narrow handlebars with a decent amount of reach and drop. When gravel first started to become a thing, the bike frames were either clones or slightly tweaked versions of their cyclocross cousins, while gravel-specific bars were virtually non-existent. That quickly changed as the discipline grew in popularity with gravel-specific bikes, tires, handlebars, and even drivetrains. Around that same time, bike packing also came in guns a-blazing, and soon enough, every brand had bikes with relaxed geometry, mounting points galore, and loads of tire clearance. These quote-unquote new disciplines were focused on longer distances, more varied terrain, and, at least in the beginning, both were unrestricted by UCI regulations. Aside from a short stint with a too big for me Salsa Fargo, all of my dirt drop experience came from either cyclocross bikes or the early generations of modern gravel bikes. As I mentioned, these bikes had high bottom brackets, steep head tube angles, low stacks, and narrow handlebars compared to modern gravel or all-terrain bikes. These features made them ride well on tech at a relatively slow pace, but as soon as speeds got high and the surface got rocky or rutted, it created a very twitchy, nervous-feeling ride. Factor in your body position being forward and down from your hands being in the drops, and steep descents and even slightly steeper than average grades made you feel like you're going to go over the bars. Modern, dirt-focused drop bar bikes, especially the more adventure-focused ones, seem to have minimized this problem, and the Cutthroat and the Crow Pass are prime examples of this. I fully acknowledge these both fit more into the drop bar mountain bike category, but I've also tested a few gravel bikes and had a similar feeling. So why are my recent experiences so different than those older bikes, despite them all using drop bars? There are actually quite a few reasons, but I want to focus on the 4 that have made me realize drop bars are not just okay, but actually great on dirt. One major factor in making a drop bar enjoyable on more than just your average, well-maintained dirt road is the design of the bar itself. As gravel and bike packing grew in popularity, manufacturers responded with frames and components geared toward those disciplines. Excluding the gravel racing scene, most people are buying these bikes to venture out and explore new trails and areas, connect them in ways they hadn't tried before, and just have a good time. This led to frames, bars, and other components focused more on comfort and capability, over racing advantages and UCI regulations. There's now a ton of options out there for wider bars with shallow and flared drops. That extra overall width makes the steering more stable and easier to handle at speed, while the shallow drop position allows you to get all of the control you want in a more upright body position. The amount of flare in the drops is a matter of personal preference, but it accomplishes two things: putting your wrist at a more comfortable angle and adding even more width for when things get extra sketchy. Instead of being repurposed or slightly tweaked road bars, these new bars are designed to handle a wider variety of roads and trails. If I had to choose the biggest reason my experience has been different this time around, it'd be one thing: hand position. Most people I know who ride drop bars do it for one of two reasons: comfort or aerodynamics. The hoods are a super comfortable, very natural feeling hand position, and honestly, a big reason many people want to use drop bars on dirt to begin with. The drops, on the other hand, are seen by many as the aero position, something that makes sense when you're racing or in a headwind, but not quite as helpful on dirt. Counterintuitively though, the drops are actually the position you want to be in as things get more technical. It's where you have the most control because it lowers your center of gravity, gives you a better hold on the bars, and allows for more leverage on the brakes. This position felt awkward and like my hands were trapped at first, but I've forced myself to use it and it's been a total game changer. In many ways, it reminds me of when I first started using clipless pedals. I had used clipless pedals while road riding for years, but the first handful of times mountain biking had me absolutely terrified. Any remotely tricky obstacle or steep descent had me unclipping and riding with my feet awkwardly on top of the pedals. After some time and experience though, it became my preferred type of pedal, and even today I'm amazed that I somehow instinctually unclip mid-crash. It's been a pretty much identical experience with drop bars. A lot of unnecessary panic and cautiousness, followed by confidence and enjoyment after more time in the drops. It takes some getting used to, but after some time in practice, it becomes as comfortable and natural as using those clipless pedals is. When I was first thinking about my newfound confidence with drop bars, I originally thought it was solely due to the bars themselves. While they play a very important role here, they definitely aren't the only reason, or else I don't think I would have noticed any difference when I first rode my Cutthroat. See, the previous owner had swapped some salsa cowbell bars on it, which aside from a really slight flare, aren't all that different from a normal road bar. Despite that, I found myself much more confident to charge down rutted, rocky forest roads and double track than I had been in the past, and that's even before I relegated myself to the drops. I ultimately realized that difference came down to the geometry of the bike itself. Again, yes, I understand the Cutthroat is a drop bar mountain bike, so it's not quite the same as your typical gravel bike. But this is about drop bars, not what does or doesn't fit into the gravel category. In regards to geometry, there's a reason mountain bikes are designed the way they are, and why they've gotten longer, lower, and slacker over the recent past. It's what makes them more capable in increasingly steeper and rougher terrain, and keeps the rider from feeling like they've lost all control. If you're wanting your drop bar bike to also do well on more technical roads and trails, you're going to want to at least skew the geometry towards mountain bikes a little bit. You obviously don't want to go too far. There's a balance you have to find so you're not compromising the handling on tamer stuff, but even a touch slacker head tube and a tad higher stack can go a long way. All else equal, I think those two measurements are what can create a much better drop bar experience. The bikes I rode in the past, and many of the modern race-oriented gravel bikes, have low stacks for the sake of aeroness and head tube angles in the 71 to 72 degree range for a quicker steering response. Both the Cutthroat and the Crow Pass have much slacker head tubes, coming in at 69 and 68.5 degrees respectively. The slacker head tube angles result in increased trail, which gives you a slower, less twitchy steering feel, especially at high speeds, and that resolves one of the issues I had in the past. It also puts the tire farther out in front of you, which helps alleviate the over-the-bar sensation on steep descents. A higher stack number, the vertical measurement from the bottom bracket to the top of the head tube, can also minimize that feeling by putting your body in a more upright position. It's especially helpful when you move from the hoods to the drops because you're not as bent over as you would be otherwise. Geometry is a tricky thing, and there are definitely some other numbers here that play a role, but in general, a trend towards slacker head tubes on dirt-oriented drop bar bikes has greatly increased their technical capabilities, especially at those higher speeds. The final thing that has been a game changer with drops and dirt is dropper posts. If you have any mountain bike experience, this shouldn't be much of a shocker to you. Dropper posts were a revolutionary change in that world. I even have a video on this exact topic from a year or two ago where I say a dropper post probably makes a bigger difference in my riding capabilities than a suspension fork does. As I've been riding the dropper post equipped Crow Pass, I've been reminded just how much of a difference there really is. And it might even be more important on drop bar bikes than on a mountain bike. While moving to the drops gives you a lot more control over both handling and brake modulation, it does put your body in a less than ideal position in regards to your balance and where your center of gravity is. Having your seat dropped allows you to not only move the bike around for better handling, but also align yourself better with that lower hand position. This has allowed me to tackle obstacles I normally walk and just generally enjoy myself a lot more than I would otherwise. And if you're wondering how much of a difference it makes, I'm so convinced that I'm in the process of adding a dropper to my own Cutthroat. Drop bars on dirt isn't a new topic for me. One of the most popular videos I've made is about how alt bars are better than drop bars on dirt, so it's something I've explored before. And the more time I spend using these bars from Ren and Redshift and riding the Corvus Crow Pass, the more I find myself appreciating modern dirt drop design in general. Wider bars make a massive difference in handling in all positions, while shallow drops are in the right spot to give you a lot of confidence when you hit the unexpected. Throw in the most recent bike trends of slacker head tubes and dropper post compatibility, and you've got a bike that can feel confident even when you enter into mountain bike territory. While I'm not ready to say I'd pick drops over flat or alternative bars for really rough dirt roads and trails, I'm definitely not writing them off like I was before. So, what's your opinion on drop bars and dirt? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support me, consider leaving a super thanks donation or buying some stickers that are linked down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.